There are cars you buy to impress people. There are cars you buy because they're fast. And then there's the Mazda MX-5. A car so relentlessly joyful and so unapologetically simple that society collectively decided, yeah, but it's a bit of a hairdresser's car though, isn't it? And that might be the biggest automotive injustice of our time. I'm Rob Hartman, and this is Cheap Thrills, and today I'm going to be talking about something I've wanted to talk about for a long time, the Mazda MX-5. Now, the MX-5 has a reputation, not earned through engineering failure or poor performance, but through vibes. It's small, it's cute, it's got pop-up headlights if you go early enough, and somewhere along the way, it got labelled hairdresser's car. Not a real sports car, a bit soft, which is fascinating because I think the people saying that have never usually driven one properly. Now there is an elephant in the room and we need to address the origin of this insult because it didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was gifted to the world by two very loud men with opinions, one from down south and one from up north, namely Jeremy Clarkson and Peter McKay. And at some point in the 80s and early 90s, probably while standing near a V8 that they just don't need, one of them looked at the Mazda MX-5 and thought, it's too small, it's too happy, and it's not enough fear. It must be for hairdressers. Only hairdressers would look good driving around in that. And that was it. That was the entire scientific process. No data about the amount of hairdressers that own these vehicles, no research, no peer review, just two blokes on opposite sides of the world saying, not terrifying enough, must be moisturised. And the mad thing is, it's stuck for decades. Entire generations of people who've never driven one just nodding along like, yeah, I've heard that, it must be true. And meanwhile, somewhere in the background, the MX-5 quietly became one of the best-selling sports cars of all time, if not the best sports car. One of the purest driving experiences you can get into, and the only car that can make a roundabout feel like Silverstone. So if anything, the term hairdresser's car didn't kill the MX-5, it just kind of filtered out the people who probably weren't going to get it anyway. And honestly, if enjoying yourself means being called a hairdresser, book me in for a trim. Well, a shave, a closer shave. Let's get something straight. The MX-5 isn't trying to be fast, it's trying to be fun. And that's a completely different brief. Rear-wheel drive, perfect balance, manual gearbox that snaps in and out like a rifle bolt. It weighs about as much as a decent fridge freezer and probably costs the same. You don't drive it, you kind of slip into it. And every corner feels like you're achieving something, even at 40 miles an hour, which is ideal because that is about as fast as it goes. And here's where it gets a bit dangerous. Because the MX-5 isn't just fun, it's accessible. It's easy to work on. There are massive parts availability. And being Japanese, everything is simple, logical, and fixable. This isn't a car you just own, it's a car you get involved with. Weekend tinkering turns into I'll just do the brakes, which turns into I've accidentally built a track car. And the best bit is these performance parts are ridiculously cheap. You can buy Brembo brake kits, coilovers, good coilovers, proper tyres, all for less than one decent set of tyres for a Porsche 911, which is absurd. Now the MX-5 has special editions and relatively low run special editions as well. And there's loads of them. There's a California in yellow and anniversary edition and the This One's Got Beige Seats edition. And here's the truth. They're not particularly that special because they're usually slightly different colour wheels, different colour bodies, different badge, but they are relatively low numbers in some of these editions. And I think that's brilliant because it means you can buy something that kind of feels special without paying absurd money. And it's the only place in the world where limited edition, low run doesn't mean remortgage your house. And there's something else that nobody talks about. The MX-5 quietly dodges a lot of modern car pain. It's got lower tax brackets, especially the older ones, sensible insurance and no terrifying running costs. Whilst everything else is getting heavier and more complex and taxed into the depths of oblivion, the MX-5 just sits there like, yeah, I'll probably be about 300 quid a year, so, only tax and insure me in the summer and we'll have a great ride together. But there are problems. Of course there are. And it's always going to be rust, isn't it? It's always going to be rust. And MX-5s don't just rust, they kind of evaporate. Sills, gone. Arches, optional. Subframes, you might have one. It's the nature of the beast, I'm afraid. But that's okay, because if you know what to look out for, you know what to buy, and it's the same old story with all of these cars. I will admit, though, there are a few dodgy imports that have come over from Japan, and they're really clean, which kind of means it was clean once, and it's now got a no undersill, it's held together by paint, it's got mystery history, probably lived an exciting life. But some are brilliant, and some are character building. I don't hate imported cars, obviously, some of the greatest cars on our roads are imported, but you buy a bad imported Mazda MX-5 or an MR2 and you are in a whole world of welding pain. And then there's the image problem. Yes, some people will assume things about you, but while they're worrying about image, you're learning how to actually drive a rear-wheel drive car in the rain, in some kind of B road full of potholes and standing water and wind and bigger cars. But the cost is where it gets really silly. £1,500 gets you the brave pill. Gets you something you know you shouldn't buy, but it's 1,500 quid. And let's face it, there are laptops that cost more than £1,500. And you could probably go to £3,000 for something usable and good. We bought a really nice NC for £2,650. 2-litre sport with Bose, retractable hardtop, great little car, loads of fun. Suspect subframe, but great little car, loads of fun. And £5,000 gets you something good, clean, tidy, from across the range as well. Something really well looked after. I did spot a California, which is the rare sunflower yellow, I think, which was 3.5 with 70-odd thousand miles, and it was a beautiful car. And then £7,000 is where it kind of gets genuinely excellent. So we're looking at the range from £1,000 to sub £10,000 for one of the best driving experiences ever made. And I know that's a bold statement, but it's fucking true. It really, really is. Once you've got one of those cars and taken it to a track or taken it down a B road with a roof down on a sunny summer morning, it is life-changing. It's just a shame they lack a bit of power. I feel like they all lack around 80 to 100 horsepower. But they're so cheap, you can afford to buy a supercharger kit or a turbocharger kit, and that's where the game changes. So if you bought a good one for £4,000 to £5,000 and bought the kit for £2,000 to £3,000, you would have an absolute pocket rocket still for less than £10,000. And the drama in that little car, the pops, the bangs, the hisses, the whooshes, the whine, is just an incredible experience for the money. So, do I think the Mazda MX-5 is a hairdresser's car? Well, yes, I do. But it is also one of the best handling cars ever built. One of the cheapest ways to have real driving fun. And I would argue the ultimate entry point into proper driving. If you can drive an MX-5 fast, you can drive anything fast. Let me leave it with this. Maybe the MX-5 isn't about image. Maybe it's not about top trump numbers or lap times or what people think when you pull up. Maybe it's just about that driving moment, the essence of driving. Roof down, late evening, empty road. And for once, you're not trying to impress anyone. You're not chasing speed, you're just driving. And in a world where everything is getting heavier, more complicated, more serious, the MX-5 quietly reminds you, maybe they weren't meant to feel like that. Maybe they were meant to feel like this. Simple, light, and a bit stupid. And honestly, that might be the most important cheap thrill of all. I'm Rob Hartman. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.